First, there was the Supreme Court's landmark ruling on instant triple talaq in August this year, which basically called the practice illegal and unconstitutional. Now the government wants to bring in a law in the next session of Parliament that begins on the 15th, which would send a man to jail with no bail for triple talaq. The tough new law proposes the following. It basically will say that instant triple talaq will be a cognizable and non-bailable offence. It will apply to instant triple talaq both in oral or written or any form. It shall be illegal and void, that there will be a 3-year jail term, fine for instant triple talaq, that women can also move court to seek subsistence allowance, and that it will, the question really then is, will it empower Muslim women at the end of the day? The winter session of Parliament, as we said, supposed to begin on the 15th of December, and this is what this new law is possibly going to look at. Well, Professor Sinha stays with us. Also joining us on the program tonight, BJP spokesperson China NC, journalist and author Saadia Dehelvi, Tavleen Singh joining us tonight from Delhi, Javed Anand joining us tonight, and Flavia Agnes, women's rights lawyer, joining us from Mumbai. Flavia, let me take this to you first. What do you think of this idea that the government has come up with to put people in jail for instance triple talaq? What do you think? Unfortunately, we've lost that line with Flavia Agnes. Let me take that. I'll take that question to Saadia Dehelvi. Saadia.
Yes, Nidhi, yes. I support the Supreme Court judgment. I think it has sent a very strong message. But I'm not a legal person, so but my gut tells me that a jail term or something as severe might not go down very well with the community, because the idea is not to just pass a legislation, but to see that the community is taken along with it step by step. So I think it would be better if this was part of if the Domestic Abuse Act was maybe there were some provisions which were added to it. Yes, if it is a criminal offence now, triple talaq, then the punishment definitely must be there. But given the corruption of the police and the politics of families, maybe it could be misused and the community would not react well. I think change has to come slowly. So maybe some other form, like I really am not the best person for this, but I think jail is a rather harsh to begin with, because then people will just reject it, and then we lose our case.
Okay, so you're saying change has to come slowly, it should be step by step, and you believe that jail is a rather harsh punishment. Tavleen Singh, do you agree? Yeah, and I just want to put into context here, I want to just put into context here that since the Supreme Court ruling in August, there have reportedly been nearly 70 cases of instant triple talaq that happened anyway, and the Supreme Court, remember, said that this was illegal and unconstitutional. Tavleen, what do you think? Do you think that this would be a good thing, or as Saadia seems to think, this actually may backfire?
I actually believe that Muslim women should come under Indian law for everything. I'm totally opposed to personal law applying to women, to Muslim women. And I think the jail would be a very good thing for these very bad men who throw out women who often are just thrown out because they don't produce sons. And I think that the law should apply to any man in India, not just Muslim men, who who do this kind of treatment of women. Secondly, with Saadia, this fond longing for the community or the communities in our country to start making social change, it doesn't happen, okay? Triple talaq is banned in most Muslim countries, and it's quite ridiculous that in India, which is supposed to be a secular country, where there's supposed to be a constitution and a law that applies to everyone, that we should still have it. So as far as I'm concerned, lock up any man who throws his wife out because she doesn't produce a son or because he suddenly found somebody else.
Okay, a very good thing for very bad men is how you put it, and you've also argued that the next step should be a uniform civil code, which is interesting. Flavia Agnes now joins us. Flavia, where do you stand in this debate, on a jail term for anyone who pronounces instant triple talaq in this day and age? Saadia's not so sure it'll work. Tavleen is all for it.
Yeah, I am actually all for uniform civil code.
Sure, this is to Flavia.
I don't support
criminalization
criminalization and
so women
putting.
Sorry, Flavia Agnes, go ahead.
Yeah, I said I think uniform civil code.
Sorry,
is
Sally,
Yeah, I don't support
situation.
criminalization. I'm
So,
still on
then
the
we
issue
all
of triple
follow
talaq
one
and
law.
criminalization of triple talaq.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, Flavia, go ahead. We can hear you.
You want me to respond to UCC or you want me to respond to criminalization
Both.
of
Well, first on
Muslim,
the criminalization part of it, do you think that it would work?
Yeah, which issue you want me to respond to right
I
now?
think we have a long delay
discussion.
between what I'm saying and what you're able
Criminalization
to hear.
part of it.
Yeah.
I agree that throwing the wife. I don't agree with criminalization of personal laws. I think we already have 498A, which is for criminalization of dowry demands. And today what we have is a backlash saying that women are misusing this and it should be tempered and there should be counseling and there should be something else. Now, basically, this is the 1983 law, and after 25 years, we got the Domestic Violence Act, which is a civil legislation, saying that criminal law in personal matters, family matters is not an answer. Today, we are moving into Muslim law and saying Muslim men, it's different for Muslim men. Muslim men need to be behind the bars because they are really very bad. They're much worse than Hindu men. Is that what we are trying to say? Because throwing the wife out of the house, whether it's Hindu, whether it's Muslim, whether it's Christian, the impact on the woman is the same, whether it's through triple talaq, whether it's mere desertion, whichever way. Now we have like a huge number of Hindu men who are deserting their wives, throwing them out. They are into the shelter home, they are into the Maike, they are into Vrindavan, they are in various places. If we're not criminalizing them, then criminalizing only Muslim talaq is, according to me, is a biased, it's a community biased move by this right-wing government. And I don't think that it will not help the community. But I'm on some other point. My point is that this woman wants to save her marriage. She doesn't want to break her marriage. She wants maintenance from him. She wants residence from him. Putting this man behind the bars is not going to help her in any way. Once the man is arrested, he is behind bars, her marriage will be over. This is the argument we are getting for 498A. That once a man goes to prison, he will never take the wife back. Now here, this Muslim woman doesn't want her marriage to break. She wants to be in that marriage. Then how will a criminal law which will put the man behind the bars help? Shouldn't we look at civil remedies and shouldn't we look at issues which are already there? The Supreme Court judgment is there, Shami Mara judgment is there, Daniel Latifi judgment is there, so many judgments are there. We should be using those laws and knocking the doors of the civil courts rather than knocking the doors of the criminal court.
I think those are very important points
that you made. This is what I seriously feel, because
I just take those to Rakesh Sinha here.
Oh, this is not working, that is not working.
Should personal law be criminalized? Would this actually be counterproductive? And I think she's thrown in also the sort of political angle as well about whether there is more politics behind this move than anything else.
I think this is the best possible method which Supreme Court is adopting to stop the discrimination of the women, Muslim women, and injustice with them. You know, if we take this logic that criminalization, then anybody can talk about the Dowry Act. This is also the same. Dowry Act doesn't apply on Muslim meher. It only applies to Hindus, and there are also cases of misuse. Despite that, rationality is that Dowry Act should continue. At the same time, on the question of sati, sati is exclusively Hindu issue, and whenever someone commits sati and someone encourages someone to commit sati, there is a punishment for that. When the objective is to stop discrimination with the women. The objective is to stop instant triple talaq. If you will not go for this law that there should be 5 years imprisonment or there is a severe imprisonment to those who are violating the law, then this would be violated in the name of religion, and women would be severely victim of the patriarchy. Once the law is applicable, then the community can rethink in terms of other modes. And second thing is that when you are saying that in personal law, there are several personal laws. When there is a question of abortion, you know, there is a ban. Certain communities say there should not be abortion, but there is a law. People get punishment.
It's interesting what you said, and I'll take that to Javed Anand. What you said about the Dowry Act, you have a Dowry Act, you have a Sati Act. How do you respond to that argument, Javed? Because you've been very strongly opposed to this idea of sending people to prison for this. But in response to what Rakesh Sinha has said, I mean, the Dowry Act is actually pretty tough. Why shouldn't there be a law like this on triple talaq?
Well, Nidhi, my organization, Indian Muslims for Secular Democracy, and I personally find ourselves somewhere between Sadia Delvi and Flavia Agnes. Were somebody to suggest a 3 months imprisonment for somebody who pronounces triple talaq, which is an inhuman, anti-woman, unconstitutional and blatantly un-Quranic practice, we would have zero sympathy. Nobody should have any sympathy for such a person. If it is a question of putting him in for 3 months in jail, perhaps we would even go as far as, say, criminalize the law. But when you talk about 3 years in jail straight away, what are you going to do? I mean, in the process, you are going to penalize the woman. She needs to be supported. Her children need to be supported. If this man is in jail, he will be fed by the jail authorities. Who is going to feed the wife and the children? The state is going to, the BJP party is going to, or who? Or the work boards. Therefore, we think there exists a middle option in the form of the Domestic Violence Act.
Can I have a question to Mr. Javed?
Go ahead.
Then no criminals should be punished because who take care of the criminals? Those who commit rape, though rapists should not be punished, according to your logic, because their children would die without the food and without the shelter, without the help from the parent, his father. So this is not the logic. When you are violating any law, you should be ready for punishment.
You are talking about sexual violence. You are talking about sexual violence. You are talking about sexual violence. You cannot compare it to the
violation of law. I am talking about the violation of law.
In a lot of cases, according to some people, I am talking about the violation of the law. Is the violation of the law? Law stands for itself, or law stands for public good? I believe law should stand for public good, and if
then Dowry Act should be abolished. According to your logic, Dowry Act should be abolished. There are many Hindus who feel that Dowry Act is
please allow me to
change the community, not
please allow me to finish.
China, let me just get going on the point that Javed is making. Okay, one second.
This is a fight for equality.
Yeah, no, but China, I think the point that the others are trying to make here is, will it be counterproductive?
If I am allowed to finish my point, I will respond to Rakesh.
Okay, Javed, finish your point quickly. Then I'll take that to China.
Yeah, I was saying there exists a law called the Domestic Violence Act. It's a secular law. It exists for all women, Muslim women included. It provides for speedy redressal of grievances. An aggrieved woman, there's no question that triple talaq amounts to domestic violence, and therefore an aggrieved woman, victim of triple talaq, is entitled to those immediate reliefs or speedy reliefs in the form of right to stay in the marital home, in the form of severe admonishment to the husband in case of any physical violence,
Javed, let me take
in
the point that you
right
made,
to maintenance,
and it's a
etc.,
point,
etc.
It's
Only
a point
if
that
the
Flavia
husband
made
does
as
not.
well.
Only if the husband does not follow this, then the criminal
about
law
whether
defaults.
personal law should become, there should be criminalization of that. Shaina, let me take that to you. That I mean, the argument here is whether it would be better to have a step-by-step change that came from the community. Now, it's one step has happened. You've had the Supreme Court making its position on this clear. But is instantly criminalizing it going to prove counterproductive is the question.
I think it will absolutely.
Nidhi, I think I'm missing the point. What is the point here? This is a fight.
You see,
Go ahead,
we
Shaina.
are missing the point clearly. This is a fight for equality of women. This is a fight for gender equality, and this is a fight in the 21st century that Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jains, all alike should have the same respect from the male counterpart. Now, if Islamic countries have done away with triple talaq, clearly this petition with the honorable courts, where there are over 10 lakh Indian Muslim women who want this justice, are to be heard. I am proud of the fact that Parliament is talking about a non-bailable warrant
to be issued for those perpetrators of crime who say talaq, talaq, talaq and ruin a woman's life. This must be dealt with severely, because only then will there be fear of law. Look at the predicament of the Muslim woman today in India. It's not the same as it is in even Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Saudi and many other Islamic countries that have done away with this regressive law. Here you have one man who wakes up one morning and just says talaq, talaq, talaq and finishes off his obligation. Why should he not be put behind bar? And you're talking about reconciliation and all these things. If you have no triple talaq, obviously if there is a divorce, you go to the honorable courts, and when you go to the honorable courts, the settlement will be decided by the court verdict. So I don't see what this hullabaloo is. And activism, yes, but activism has also to be countered with fear of law in this particular case, because this is nothing but a fight for equality of women in the 21st century, who are not interested in separate parameters for Hindus and separate parameters for Muslims and other communities.